Many churches have gotten really used to using colored motion backgrounds for worship. However, for broadcasting purposes, this creates a bit of a problem because it's really hard to key that out and still get lyrics onto our video feed in a clean and legible way. In this video, I'm going to take you inside the Church Video School training portal and show you a tutorial about how to set up your ATEM switcher so that you can have a nice bar lower thirds that have colored motion graphics on them without blocking the entire screen and not being able to see anything on your video feed. So let's dive in. All right, so I'm here inside ProPresenter 7 and I've got this basic stock motion background selected. You can see if I switch this to the program feed that we've got just a nice, nice lower third. This is our broadcast output and we've got a simple motion graphic there that looks decent. So what we need to do is find a way to get that over to this broadcast video that you're seeing without taking up the entire screen. So most of us have been using a simple upstream key where we send white text on a black background, we luma key that black out so that we just have white text in the lower third. And this is definitely the easiest and simplest way to get lyrics onto your broadcast feed. But if you're a church that's really attached to using motion backgrounds in your worship setting, you don't want to change that, I'm going to show you how to set this up without buying any additional hardware. So typically you need to run an alpha key to do any kind of lower third, any kind of downstream key graphic with transparency built into it. And we're not totally getting around that, but we're going to do a little bit of a loophole cheat in order to make it look like just a lower third is being sent over and mapped onto our video with just a single HDMI connection instead of buying a DeckLink Duo, doing a dual channel SDI with alpha key, which gives you a lot more flexibility, but for a lot of us, that's just not in the budget right now. So let's dive in. I'm going to show you how to make this happen. So the first thing we need to do is go inside ATEM Software Control. So I'm going to open up my ATEM Software Control here and make sure when I go to palettes that I've got my upstream key 1 selected, Luma is selected, and my fill and key source are correct. So our upstream key is what we've been using to pull a black background out for white text. And if I turn that on right now, you'll see that doesn't work very well, right? Because I've removed all the black or all the really dark areas of the motion background, but there's still a mess of color all over the place. This should not be a surprise. So what we actually need to do to make this work is actually not use an upstream key, but we actually need to use a downstream key. I'm using an ATEM Mini Pro today, but any kind of ATEM switcher is going to have at least one downstream key. So let's go set that up. So I'm going to turn this off. We're going to go inside our palettes, close upstream key 1 and go to downstream key 2. Now, same thing, make sure you set your key and fill sources to the same. You can oftentimes rename your ProPresenter feed to just PP7 so you're not confused. Today it's camera 2 in my setup. Now, if we turn this on, you see I have downstream key controls right here, and depending on your model, you may have more than one downstream key available to you. But if I turn this on, you're going to see something very similar. And you may say, that doesn't seem to solve the problem, and you'd be right. So this downstream key, because it doesn't have any alpha channel information inside the graphic, alpha channel is a transparency layer. Just like you have RGB for how to make colors, you add an A. RGBA is an alpha channel signal, and the A is literally just a control for transparency, how opaque is the graphic going to be. So without that specific channel giving that kind of information, it just has to blend these two layers without any really control over how to blend. So you're getting this really weird mix right now that doesn't look good at all. So what we need to go do is manually control the mix settings to make it look the way we want. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn off pre-multiplied key, and you see that it goes to whatever settings for clip and gain there are. It looks totally different. What we're going to do with clip is we're actually going to drag this all the way to the left to 0%. And then our gain, we're going to bring down, it's up to you. You can either leave it where it's completely solid, or you can bring it to about 37%, 36%, and have just a hair of transparency. It's up to you. We'll make it totally opaque right now just to make it simple. And then from here, right now, this key is on. So it's just laying the graphic on top of the video. That's how downstream keys work. Upstream keys go to the incoming video and pull something out, a downstream key lays a layer on top of the video as it's leaving the switcher. So right now it's just laying a full screen layer of graphics on top of the video, which is part of the solution. The other part is we're going to mask this out. So we're going to remove from the top 2/3 of the screen this key so that it's only here in the bottom third. And it's very simple. Inside ATEM software control, you've got your mask control here. All you have to do is enable that. And you'll see, I'm going to turn it back on. It's not doing anything right now because it's set to the full screen. So you've got 9 above 0, 9 below 0, and same left and right, 16 and -16. So 0 is actually dead center in the screen. So if I take our top control and put it to 0, you'll see that I've cut the top half of the screen off and you can barely see my head. So we're going in the right direction. I would say something like -4 is usually pretty good. You can tweak it, maybe -4.5. It's really up to you to find that sweet spot for the size text you use, the number of lines you use. But you can see right now, I've got my key on and I've got a really nice lower third graphic with motion background. And now it's just grabbing and cutting off the top 2/3. So if your motion graphic doesn't make sense without seeing the entire image, it may not be a good candidate for you to use anymore. So I'm going to go over here and select this other one. Now I'm going to switch over to the full screen ProPresenter feed, right? This is what it looks like full screen. This is again just a stock one, and it makes some sense looking at the whole thing. But if I go back to this, you know, does it look great? It looks okay. I don't really know what I'm seeing here. And depending on if you're using stock video or something else, it may really not work to just use the bottom third of the image. But this is your option, whether you're using video backgrounds or just still image backgrounds for worship. If you don't have the DeckLink Duo card sending multiple feeds in, this is the way that you are able to still get that lower third. Now, I will say the caveat is that if you turn this key on too soon, I'm going to go and clear everything out from ProPresenter. This is what the key looks like right now. So because the key and fill are from the same source and the source is completely black right now, there's just a black bar on top of the video. And then when your operator goes and hits song 1 and turns on the slide and then hits the lyrics, it's going to look a little bit janky like that. So you have to time turning your key on and off a little bit differently if you use this style. But it is a great solution that requires pretty much no investment outside of having the right switcher and having a computer running ProPresenter, which you likely already have if you're watching this video. The other advantage of using a downstream key is that you can fade it on and off independently of cutting different angles of your video. So if you see over here in ATEM software control, I've got tie, on air, and auto. Now it's on air right now, and if I want to turn it on or off air, I just hit the auto button and it's going to give me this really smooth crossfade. And if I hit auto again, it'll fade back on. Because it's a downstream key, it's not really attached to the video coming in. It's just applied directly on top. So you get independent control, which is really nice. So if you're in the position where you want to keep using motion backgrounds in worship, I hope that this has helped you figure out a way to get a better compromise between serving your online audience and keeping things in your worship setting the way that they've always been and creating a great environment for people in the room. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, guys, I hope that video was helpful for you, especially if you're in the position of trying to compromise between broadcast and in the room. And I hope this tutorial may have helped break down a barrier for you as far as being able to serve both audiences well, which is what we're really about here at Church Video School, helping churches reach more people through video. So if this video was helpful to you and you want to see more videos like this, as well as trainings on everything else as it relates to live and edited and produced video, make sure you click the link in the description below to apply to work with Church Video School. We're taking on new cohorts all the time. We'd love to help empower you in your church and specifically your volunteers to be trained up so that you guys can reach more people through video for the kingdom. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time.